The history and origin of writing. Writing is a unique human achievement. Writing is a system of graphic marks that represent the units of a specific language. To contrast writing with art, just to think about how these two visual symbol systems developed. Art preceded writing by about 25,000 years. So art first occurred in France around 30,000 BCE, and the first representations of art we know of were called cut marks, and they were lines and depressions that represented in part incomplete sketches of animals. Art has always been associated with the divine and the spiritual, and by 10,000 BCE, art became widespread among all human cultures. In contrast, writing arose much later and was tied to counting and economic systems. Writing has always dealt with the mundane and practical in its development, and as it developed, it remained the asset of a few civilizations. Through the use of stones or rocks, writing arose in Mesopotamia in 3200 BCE, China in 1250 BCE, and Mesoamerica 650 BCE. Mesopotamia is near the present-day Iraq, Turkey, and Syria. Some of the antecedent forms of writing were tokens that were used for counting. The tokens actually represented the objects that they were counted and corresponded to the number of objects. So if a cone represented a jar of oil and there were 5 jars of oil, then there would be 5 cones. The token system shared with art one archaic feature. The tokens, like images, represented the number of units of goods in a one-to-one correspondence. Why did we stop using tokens? We think it was because keeping records with tokens was cumbersome and bulky. Tokens eventually became more complex as they were used for more complicated transactions. The 3500 BCE temple economy in Uruk, a Sumerian city, required the keeping of tokens in the archives, possibly to keep track of debts while they were being repaid. These records necessitated the creation of envelopes consisting of small hollow clay balls. Tokens could be held in these envelopes undisturbed. Around 3500 BCE, a major development occurred when the envelopes were designed to make the contents visible from the outside through the use of depressions. Evidence shows that eventually the tokens were imprinted on a tablet. The tablets did away with the need for tokens, and at that point the signs became independent entities. And here we have a contrast of a writing tablet from 3100 BCE and a writing tablet from today. The use of signs overtook the use of impression tokens around 3100 BCE in the Mesopotamian city of Uruk. So these signs eliminated the need for tokens completely. One jar of oil could be represented, and then signs could be used to show how many jars of oil. So this tablet, we think it shows 33 measures of oil. One jar of oil represented with signs to show 33 measures. Eventually this developed where the sounds of speech were imitated. What developed were called phonograms, and their signs standing for sound, and we think this began in a Sumerian city around 3000 BCE in order to record the names of individuals who gave or received goods. Eventually this use of writing parted from accounting in that it was used for funerary purposes. Around 2700 and 2600 BCE, a scribe at the court of kings of Ur, a Sumerian city, innovated by inscribing funeral objects of gold and silver and precious metal with the name of royal persons. Eventually this use expanded because when statues were made of deceased persons, in addition to their name, prayers were eventually included. Cuneiform script also developed in the Mesopotamian area, and it reached its classical period around 2200 to 2000 BCE, when scribes used a reed stylus with a triangular end that produced cuneiform's distinctive edge patterns. Though always remaining partly logographic, i.e. one sign equals one concept, the script was a syllabary. Cuneiform, as the first writing system, played a vast role in the spread of writing. The cuneiform script lost ground when Aramaic, written with a flowing hand on papyrus or parchment, became prevalent in the Near East. The alphabet was invented only once, which means that all present alphabets from Latin, Arabic, Greek, and so on all derived from the same first alphabet. The invention of the alphabet took place in the Near East, probably in present-day Lebanon, around 1700 BCE. Neither syllabic nor logographic, the alphabet owed nothing to cuneiform, rather it was a totally new system based on the identification of the distinctive sounds of a language and matching each with a specific sign. The first alphabet consisted of 22 letters, each standing for a phoneme, a single speech sound. The success of the alphabet was to streamline script. Compared to the 600 cuneiform signs, the 22 letters were easy to learn, allowing literacy to spread more widely. The 22 letters of the first alphabet only represented consonants, but eventually, through war, the Greeks modified the alphabet by changing the shape of the letters, and the Greeks also added letters for vowels, bringing the alphabet up to 27 symbols. The diffusion of the Latin alphabet followed the conquest of the Roman armies through Europe. Among the three origins of writing, Chinese is the only one that has an unbroken record of use in the last 3 millennia leading up to modern times. From the beginning, Chinese was written vertically in columns read right to left. The most remarkable feature of Chinese writing is the size of its character set since around 100 CE, when the scholar Zhu Shen created a dictionary of 9,353 characters. The number of characters has steadily increased to about 60,000. For the modern Chinese writer and reader of Chinese, 1,000 characters accounts for 90% of all occurrences in text, and 2,400 characters cover 99% of occurrences. In the West, a myth about Chinese writing has persisted. Characters have been considered small pictures that represent ideas, but this is not the case. And here we have a depiction of Zhu Shen. Mesoamerica is what is present-day Mexico and Central America. And in Mesoamerica, about 13 different writing systems developed by 900 CE by various civilizations, but the one we know best is the Maya writing system because it was written on stone on upright monuments known as stelae. Maya was written during the height of their civilization from 250 to 900 CE through to the 16th century when Christopher Columbus first encountered the Maya. Maya characters are known as glyphs, about 800 of which are known to exist. When Europeans arrived in Mexico, they outlawed the use of native writing system. Indigenous Mesoamerican people have revived the use of glyphs in contemporary times as a symbol of their heritage. Of course, since ancient times, writing has spread across the globe. Anthropologist of science Bruno Latour in 1986 proposed a material explanation for the spread of writing and its impact on society. Representations succeed, he argues, because they enable their users to do more. Writing systems may spread through the influence of religion, military and political conquest, or economic ties, but it persists for reasons that have to do with its utility for human work and its adaptability across spheres. One might use Latour to explain that many writing systems evolved towards the alphabetic because it's easier to learn, more easily adapted to other languages, and more efficiently ordered. Latour's materialist explanation for the spread of writing contrasts with the distinctively mentalist or cognitivist arguments of Marshall McLuhan, Walter Ong, and Jack Goody. So here's just a table that shows the contrast of the number of symbols in the Greek alphabet versus some of the other forms of writing when we think about why one system of writing became predominant over another. The history of writing has marked the interplay between linguistics, socioeconomics, and the forces of technological change, an interplay that will shape the future of writing. The rise of email, chat rooms, and bulletin boards, as well as the widespread use of text messaging on cell phones, has created new symbols in Europe, North America, and Asia. And we are all familiar with emoticons. There's also words or symbols used in text messaging. The future development of writing will include that more languages will be written down. 6,912 languages are spoken in the world as of 2004. Most are not written down because no writing systems have been developed to represent these languages. The future favors adoption of the Roman alphabet because this alphabet adapts easily to writing technologies. The Roman alphabet is written by more people in the world than any other.